Good evening, and welcome to Waterhouse Vibes. Waterhouse Vibes. Oh man, I'm pretty sure that the listeners were asking why there wasn't any show last week and the week before. Well, I received some feedback from you, the listeners, and commentary as to direction and role of Waterhouse Vibes with regards to Waterhouse as a community. And among the feedback were some criticism of this channel. Criticism, in fact, one of my very close friends who happened to be a senator in Jamaica, not calling any name, he said to us at some point, man, you guys argue like some armchair revolutionaries. Initially, I just put it to the side, but then I touched base with other folks, and it's the same sentiment I'm getting from them. So being the host, you know, I say, listen, we have to make some change. We can't continue down that path because this is not about us. The panel. When we started this process of having a podcast, the whole idea was to provide a mechanism and an avenue that we can use to mobilize resource for the people of Waterhouse. You know, that was where and how we started. So for that, we had to take a break, and we decided to revisit the whole Waterhouse thing and talk to some people in the community, and we're coming with a new look, new formats, and hopefully you will see the change as we go along. I am Michael Nita, your host, and with me today is a sister from the community of Waterhouse. Not just a sister, but one of the principal organizers in the community of Waterhouse. She's no stranger to Waterhouse. She's a child of Waterhouse. She, she I would say she is a product of the fire, the 1970s fire that the people of Waterhouse were subjected to. Whether the Yappies them come across and fire shot, you know, but the siege on Waterhouse, and that was 1979 to 1980. This sister is a survivor of that thing. She's a product of that environment and a product of certain outlook on life. In my view, I think she's a child of the revolution at the same 1970s revolution. So it really warmed my heart to have her with me today. You know, I'm not going to say much. I'm going to leave it to her to introduce herself because I know she's very capable of doing that. But in the broader issue of representation and mobilizing resource for the community, we have to talk less and listen to the community. That's one thing I'm convinced. And oftentimes, those of us from the left, we think we know it all. And we want to tell people how they must live and what they should be doing. And honestly, I don't think we can go for that, right? Especially you them a Waterhouse that time. Who come from now? West Bay Farm Road, Balcom Drive, Wheelers, Moscow, Seaview Garden, Riverton. Them you not go for that because they live and exist in a situation where brutality is ever present. They live in a situation where brutality is ever present in Waterhouse. You know, whether it's the Bigfoot policeman or some misguided youths turn to violence to resolve problem. My hope is that as we sort of step out on this new path, new direction, you, the listener, will find it in your heart of art to take part, engage us in a conversation around what you and I and others can do to support activities, youth activities, community activities in Waterhouse. Some time ago, I mentioned a center at Bagger Park. Now, another site that we are looking at is Balmaji off West Bay Farm Road, Balmaji Primary School. That piece of land, there's a soccer field and it needs development. So, for the time being, I'm going to hold it at that. And Sister Racquel, you want to take it from here? Tell the folks about who you are. Tell them who you are. You can better let hear it from you.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Nita, for inviting me onto your program.
You have to drop the mister, you know. Me
Oh,
I can
okay.
get
Yeah.
me know
No,
when I
Mister.
get out that.
Okay.
Just call me like how you come up on the road,
Yes,
everybody's know me.
Nita. Nita.
Neat,
Thank
Nita, yeah.
you. Thank
All
you
right,
for
cool.
the invitation to come on this afternoon. So you explained it very well, but you were very dating me. My parents were products of the struggles in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah,
I was born in 88, just as Gilbert hit in September. I was born October 5th.
yes,
So, heard of the struggles, heard of everything that my parents had to go through. And therefore, I believe that that is some of the reasons why I consider myself as a community develop person who wants to develop their community that they come from, you know.
yeah,
I had the opportunity to study in the US. I went to the University of the District of Columbia. I grew up in Waterhouse in a part of the community called Capture, and I, as everybody else, attended Balmaji Primary School, as you mentioned. Went up the chain, did very well, passed my GSAT at the time to attend Decent Use High School, and I went all the way up to sixth form, and I had the opportunity to go overseas to further my studies, and I studied administration of justice as well as I minored in project management. That kind of dappled with research and urban studies. Another person's asked me, why are you back in Jamaica? Why are you in Waterhouse? I always tell myself that back in the 80s, then Prime Minister Michael Manley usually give persons scholarships to go overseas to study, and they will be bonded to the country where they come from, which basically means they will have to come back and give back some service to their country. I did not was banded to come back. I got a bond to come back, but I consider myself giving myself a personal bond to come back to my country of birth. I always tell person I'm a Jamaican, I'm a nationalist, and the development of my country and by extension my community is my first priority. So I came back home in 2011 after completing my studies, and I graduated magna cum laude and a lot of accolades behind it. Was able to um, do a lot of leadership studies, and I was the longest and still is the longest serving student government president that my university ever saw. And as an international student, that was a big milestone. And I came back home to share what I learned in America. When I came back to the community, I first landed in a private sector agency doing research for a chemical company. And then I ventured out into governmental areas. And now I'm in an NGO. I I have dabbled in different governmental spaces and different institutional spaces where I believe that my skills and complexity give me the opportunity to serve the people of my community and by extension Jamaica. Because not only am I, in the community serving, giving back, I'm also extending myself to other communities that are deemed vulnerable. So I'm currently the project coordinator for St. Patrick's Rangers, and this is an NGO which is considered to be one of the primary NGOs in disaster preparedness and management. So because of this, I've gotten the opportunity to go to communities, conduct needs assessment, and in some cases damage assessment. So the first opportunity I did a needs assessment for my community, and some of the elements that came out was very alarming. However, I don't think that is damning. I think that with a lot of help and support from persons in the diaspora as well as governmental entities and NGOs in the country, we're able to tackle some of these issues. Um, some of the main issues, we have a lot of absenteeism in school, and this is because um, the community is defined as one that is vulnerable and may be considered some of the elements or some of the persons living in the community are living with.
Before
So, mhm,
Raquel,
yes.
can you put the need assessment for later and just talk about your development and
Oh, okay.
some of the
So my.
challenges you face as a woman in this field and in the community? Because
Mhm,
we grew up in our community, you and I, where
mhm,
predominantly it was men who provide the leadership in the community,
yes.
and then later, and then the women behind them. You know,
Yes.
yes. So you changed that because you're one of the most prominent one inside. Well, you and
Mhm.
Shelly and Fraser, both of you right now. You guys, oh, we ahead of the game right now. Two women.
Yes.
At a time when everything inside water, well, I wouldn't say everything, but things broke down. All
Mhm.
the organization, them everything just broke down, and you know. So tell us some of what you went through.
Mhm. It was so like you said, there are a lot of challenges in the community. Before historically, men will be at the forefront of the leadership role, and the women will be the support system. But I believe that when I was speaking to you before we came on, and I said that I'm somebody that likes to work behind the scene, but there comes a time when we have to come up front because we're the one that I'm experiencing the issues. I currently still live in the community. I'm not isolated from the issues, so I know what is happening presently in the community. And I personally made that decision to stay in the community so I can stay with the people and see how best we can find results, because I consider myself as a result oriented individual where I can sit down and analyze the complexities and the issues and see how we can come up with solutions. So it has been difficult. It has been traditionally there are certain stereotypes and roles that are laid for females, but we are the backbone of the family in terms of the nurturing and the caring of our children and our elderly. And more and more women are becoming more educated. And I believe that seeing that I got the opportunity to get a high class education, I can stay back behind and not lead and pay forward for persons coming before or after me. So for persons who are coming after me, I want to be an example and a model that you don't have to be a product of your environment, the product of the violence, the product of the poverty, the product of the dilapidated structures in terms of housing structures. You do not have to be a product of your community. You can rise above all these obstacles. And I personally believe that education is what helped me to rise above these challenges. challenges still currently present, but like I said before, it's not damning. They are with different interventions and strategies that we can employ. These challenges can be, I will use it, I'm going to be radical, it can be eradicated from the community if we streamline all that needs to be done and get the community buy-in. I believe that this community can be one of the best communities in this area or in this belt. This community has a vast wealth of individuals who have, have migrated or have are still living in the community, but are still a part of the community, but they moved out that can give back and lend a hand forward. When I came back to Jamaica, one of the first things I partaken in was a documentary or a interview where it was labeled paying it forward. I didn't think that I was doing it for myself, but I have four nieces that are looking up to me, five nieces rather, and plus I have nephews and I have other persons. I am Auntie Racquel, I am the Justice of the Peace. I am here to come back to help persons to find out opportunities and that can help to better their lives and make their lives even more easier than my life. My philosophy is the next generation shouldn't have to go through the same struggles that I had to go through. The struggles that you went through, Miss Anita.
You
You,
call me Mr. Anita again, you could tell this
Anita,
like, yeah,
yes,
Mr.
the
Anita
struggles
thing with
that
you.
you had to go through, the struggles that my dad had to go through, you all paved the way that we didn't have to go through those struggles, right? We we can. So I want to be one of those generation, and that is why I'm a part of anything that is positive. I want to be a part of that generation, influencing future thoughts and future leaders. For persons to come from behind the scene and take their rightful place in being a part of the solution and not be a part of the problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. You break the mold because traditionally, I would attend high school and university, them just woof, leave the community, them gone
Yeah.
overseas, but you decide to stand with the people, and I really thankful. That really show that the work that I and your uncle and your mother was not in vain. In
Yeah.
terms of water, it was never in vain, because you're a product, you're an example of it. Okay, you briefly touch on the youth foundation you start.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that foundation. Okay, we're coming back to
Mm-hmm.
the, the the assessment thing, but you started a foundation
Mm-hmm.
as part of your work. Tell us
Yeah.
about them.
So I'm involved in several foundations because even the company that I work for, St. Patrick's Rangers, started out, it's a youth-led organization. However, I've partnered with a colleague of mine we founded an organization called GIF Youth Empowerment. And GIF, is the acronym, stands for Generation Influencing Future Thoughts. So it's GIFT, Youth
Yeah,
Empowerment. So it's Generation Influencing Future Thoughts. And the concept around it is for us to be that change agent in our communities. I am from a vulnerable community. He's from a vulnerable community from 7 Miles, Bull Bay.
yeah,
And our experiences are not different when we're talking about the issues that I faced growing up in Waterhouse and the issues that he had to encounter as a male, given a different perspective. I'm a female. We
yeah.
combine to see that we need to be the change agent that is gonna break some generational curses. That's gonna break some community issues that exist in the community. So GIF basically wants to create and to reach the young persons who they are considered unattached or persons who are from vulnerable communities and vulnerable populations. They might not necessarily got the opportunity like we did to attend the traditional high school because I went to St. Hugh's and he went to Kingston College. However,
Mhm.
we want to bring back that essence that education is that mold or that medium that can bring you out of poverty and can uplift your social stature once you get that opportunity. Not everybody's going to be academic and not going to be a part of the academia world, but there are persons who are skilled and we need to hone their talents and create or find the opportunities for them to shine. And that is what GIF is about. And GIF has been around since 2016. We're revamping it and creating more activities and more projects so that we can tailor to the needs of this population, this current youth population that we have in Jamaica. They want different things. They're curious about AI. They're curious about technology. They want to be a part of the know-it-all. They want to know how to become social media influencers. They want to find non-traditional ways to create wealth and to create an income for themselves and their families. So that is what
Okay.
you GIF is about in a sense.
Oh, it's a lot you just said there. Man, it's a lot, you know. I just can't imagine the amount of work because I remember I have to walk from Samarkand, go straight to Riverton in terms of my organizing days, mobilizing communities and what have you. And it wasn't an easy thing. Well, it was much easier then, you know, because we
Mm-hmm,
had resource. But
mm-hmm,
right now, it's good to see someone like you involved and ahead of the game, you know. Because it's true, it's a fact. Working in Waterhouse with the residents is a challenge.
mm-hmm.
It is a challenge. And sometimes it get real dangerous. You know, you go one corner against one corner and you in the middle. I said, but we are friends, you know. And a man said, oh, you sell way out and, you know,
Yes.
and the partition or what have you. That's one thing. I want to, I want you to tell me, you know, let's turn to the needs assessment that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you and I know, any work we're doing at White House, you have to conduct a needs assessment. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have a foundation from where you start from. You know, tell us about it. Tell the listener what this is about, how it came about,
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible, without
Oh,
divulging confidential information.
definitely, definitely. So the needs assessment came about. So before I start, I can give you a little background. I had an opportunity last year to visit Belize through overseas international donor to actually get some further training in conducting needs assessment and damage assessment and analysis. So when we came back to Jamaica, my colleague and I, we decided that the communities that we presently have rangers in, which is 13 communities, including Waterhouse, we decided to do a needs assessment. However, Hurricane Beryl, I don't know if it was fortunate or unfortunately, Hurricane Beryl came on the 3rd of July, which kind of prompted us to do the needs assessment even quicker than we had planned for. So once we did the needs assessment in Waterhouse, and the questions was a combination of qualitative and quantitative questions in terms of data gathering and how we analyze the data. So we wanted to get a good cross section of the community, which included the elderly, young persons, persons in middle class, persons unemployed, persons employed, varying demographics of persons, so we can get a broader spectrum or a specimen so we can analyze. So it had 69 questions. First of all, we asked their permission to ask questions, and it basically had several areas. It talked about vulnerable populations and what is it that is limited. It also talked about what it is that they would want to see in the next 5 years. And the questions also go ahead as what is your priority needs if there becomes an opportunity that there we could write proposals to get projects to come into the community. Um, and also the method of intervention that they would desire or strategies that they would desire if help was coming along. So when we came to the Waterhouse community, the major needs of the community was infrastructural development, as well infrastructural development not only for the landmarks or for the roads or the sidewalks, also structural development because there are a couple persons who are still living in what we call tenement yard and dilapidated structures. I remember this needs assessment was coincided with emergency preparedness as well. So if you hear me speaking about preparedness, we want our community members to get prepared in the eventuality of a disaster as well. So there are some dilapidated housing structures. So housing and infrastructural development was the main one. The second one had to do with educational needs. There are a lot of persons in the community, Mita, that is doing very well in school. They have gotten the subjects, they're getting their CXCs, and have gotten the opportunity to go to university. But their family member just don't have the money or the resources to assist them. There are also persons who are in lower school, as in primary school and early educational institutions that have gotten the opportunity to go to university, but they don't have the resources to assist them. So
Man. Who was it seems like Racquel is having some problem in Kingston. In fact, she said to me that she was sitting in her car while doing this interview. Let me see where she's at. No, she hasn't. Our internet is down to say, but what you say is true. Working in Waterhouse is a challenge. The weak-hearted individual can get involved in that sort of work, going amongst residents and mobilizing the community, and also making sure that people feel secure, in face of the assault from the police, some Bigfoot policeman and some criminal, which was very prominent in the 70s and the 80s, so it's good to hear that the sister really decided to stay in Jamaica and involve in what's happening, do something for the community. Let me try and see if I can get her on the phone, find what's happening. She's not answering. Yeah, hello, Racquel, where are you? No, come back in, man. You were removed. You think, come back in, man. Yeah. Yeah, as I was saying, it's not an easy thing to take on the challenge of organizing, doing work in Waterhouse. And it's really wonderful. It's a great feeling one get when you see such individual, knowing that you spend so many years in the trench to organize and train the youths them and give great opportunity for them to survive. And here Raquel is a good example. Huh? Yeah. I see some comment here and I want to respond to it. There's one here talk about nobody now talk to the youths them. I wouldn't say that is what is happening in Waterhouse. Youths, folks are talking with the youths. That's for sure. You know, folks are talking with the youths. The problem, however, is the lack of resource. You know, and oftentimes we get caught up into it. Without the lack of well, here is Racquel again. So without the lack of resource,
Okay.
the work becomes difficult. So sorry about that, Racquel. You have internet. What's the problem?
Yeah, I don't. My internet is back up now. I think it was a little
Okay,
bit. It went down for a second.
okay.
Sorry about
But
that.
you were saying about the broken down
The-
buildings and the condition of the people. Yeah,
yes.
continue.
So I mentioned about the structural and infrastructural development, as well as education was also a need for the elderly population. I know it's very difficult because we do have an increase in um, persons finding it very difficult to maintain their basic needs, whether it be for their food, as well as they get their medical attention, as well as medications, etc. That also became an issue. What was alarming to me from the needs assessment, we still had persons in the community, not a significant number, but we have persons who still do not have um, a kitchen facility where they can prepare their meals. They still prepare their meals outside on coal stove. We have a couple persons that we identified that still has pit latrines or do not have a pit inside of their housing dwelling um, system. So there's a lot of um, there are some cases that are isolated. However, the needs assessment did pick it up that there are persons who are still what we will consider living below the poverty line. Is below the poverty line, that they are having difficulties providing for their basic needs, and they are having difficulties as well as maintaining what they need for their general survival. Um, the needs assessment also pointed out that there's a high level of absenteeism in schools, truancy, and mainly this is amongst boys in the community. When we got to the meat of the matter, trying to identify what is the issue, one of the things that was discussed is that you know the parent may not have the lunch money to give that child to go to school on that given day. There are probably more than one children in the household, and they have to pick and choose like it's a raffle who goes which day because of the limited resources. Not all the children in the household may be able to go to school. So you may see them loitering on the street, going back and forth, going to the shops, and they're not in school. Um, we have a lot of, like I was making mention, we have a lot of early childhood institutions that are doing very well, but they need the support in the community, because we believe that from the needs assessment, once we get it correct at that level, at the basic school level, I think that is a good foundation for us to achieve success at the other levels. So you need schools that need whiteboards, schools that needs fan, school that needs proper ventilation, and these are resources that are lacking in these institutions. Schools that need the proper facilities for a nursery or a playground or a play area so the children can play, because it's not only about their academics but about their social development as well. There's an alarming case of cases in Jamaica of children being born with um, neurodivergent disorders such as autism, ADHD, things that are not, I wouldn't say it's not very known to persons in my community and how to deal with it. So these children need special needs. So the need for a special needs program in these institutions for these children is needed in the school. Also, our infrastructures and the main thoroughfare in the community is not very conducive for persons with disability, persons who are wheelchair bound or may have to walk with a walker or had a decapitated leg based of illnesses and they have to traverse the community because of the terrosphere of the community right now. So there are some, those are just some of the needs that came up, and that was, I think, was is worth mentioning and worth for us to have discussion.
How many residents take part in this assessment? Oh man, something. What's wrong with our Wi-Fi? She's having a problem again down there, but mm, it's really good that this needs assessment was done because in order to move forward, we need to know the condition and what she's presenting is something we knew about for a long while in terms of people I use still I cook them food in the yard and them live they still I use boat toilet and all sort of stuff, because them are I don't know. It's she's back again. Racquel, that thing you have in there. But on the main thing about the needs assessment, this is really a good move, and it's usually a needs assessment of this nature serve as the foundation for the organizing process, which must come after the need assessment is done. And that's one thing I want to ask her about because it's a lot of time, long time, a lot of people we hear ideas about this and that and nothing happened. So I want to ask her about that and what section of the community take part in the needs assessment, or is it just something she just stayed on at Cuba or bottom capture and just write up something? I doubt it from what she's saying, but there's still some questions to ask. I want to ask her about some other issues that we are familiar with, especially youth violence. Oh, was that part of the findings? That is a big concern there because in Waterhouse, it is true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
back.
my sister. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, I was making mention that the community has an entrepreneurial spirit, Michael. So I believe that persons need the resources to continue with their hairdressing, their people who are seamstresses, dressmakers. We have tailors. We still have persons who shoemakers. We have shopkeepers. We have persons who are venturing out into entrepreneurial activities in order to become sustainable and for them to provide for themselves. So the community, and I always make reference to a neighboring community in Olympic Way, where every Friday
West
night,
Central.
West Central, every Friday night, if I desire something different from what is in my house to eat, that is the direction that I am heading to purchase something. Out there is booming, and business is running, and everybody on that stretch on Olympic Way, they're making money. Nobody,
Eh,
even if the same business is right beside, they're providing the same service. Each person out there making money, and this community, that aspect was developed based on persons who have gone overseas, have been doing better for themselves and sending out to their family members to create something that will generate income and wealth for their family members back in Jamaica. We have some elements of that in the community, but seeing our community is a bigger one, we have more spaces, we have opportunities to expand. I think that is the avenue that we should venture out into as well. Get our young persons trained in business, let them know financial management, not only just business, because man and man on the corner feel like That just a little hustle. But there's a science behind the hustle. You have to know how to keep the hustle going. You have to know how to sustain the hustle. So those programs are things that we're thinking about with GIF to educate them how to maintain a business, how to do a business plan, how to do a business proposal, how to reach out to the financial institutions so that they are lending agencies, so that they can lend you the resources to expand your business concept. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about doing in the community. You made mention about the sporting space by Balmaji, and the political representative have plans to develop that space, and they have started by installing the sprinkler system, and we're currently hosting a football competition in the community that started on July 5th, and we're about to head into the quarterfinals come this independence holiday. And the outcome and the feedback from the community has been very, very well. It's been very, very good, I must say. Community members are coming out. You can see them walking up West Bay Farm Road or down West Bay Farm Road, coming with their chairs to sit down and watch a game of football and to support their favorite communities or different spaces in the community. And the community is fairly at a level where with crime and violence, we're calm. That's the word I'm using, we're calm. The borderlines and the boundaries that were previously set, they're eradicated, they're being erased. So persons are being able to move freely amongst around in the community, and we're getting back to where we were, where the community was one big community, everybody can go and support each other. And I believe that was one of the reasons why I encourage the political directorate to bring on back this football competition, to bring back the love into the community. Pure vibes. The Waterhouse Football Club motto is unity is strength, and we're strengthened and we're more strengthened when we're united. When we're fragmented, we're not going to be a part of the problem or even solve the problems that we're having in the community.
The needs assessment cover what area? Can you say? Was it from Moscow up to Samarkand or what? What area and how many residents participate in the
Oh,
need assessment process?
okay. So the needs
The
assessment
geographic
covers
area, yeah.
the geographical area. We followed the Social Development Commission geographical area, which states that Waterhouse has 5 districts. And the 5 districts is Moscow, Cuba,
Oh man, this thing. Folks, it seems like, well, it's obvious she's having problem in Kingston. You know, the internet situation in Jamaica, especially in Waters. So that's where she's talking from. But it seems like some positive thing taking place in Waterhouse, and some positive thing taking place in Waterhouse. Nothing are going on inside here in terms of the competition and what have you, you know. And there's organizing taking place, which is good. And oftentimes all you hear about is gang warfare, man a fight against man and all them things, this can against that can and all that, but things looking good. I know of the football competition, you know. One person here asks about what about land behind the soccer field? Yes, this person seemed to be knowledgeable about the place because faith and hope. That's true. Faith and hope was a place in the Tower Avenue, Olympic Way. Everybody used to go to Faith and Hope buy food. After night, come from dance and all them things. So it looked like something along that line I developed on the same Olympic Way. I know of it. Some bridge of mine, in Philadelphia, who we all went to school. They told me in terms of what's happening in Olympic Way. So things are going on. But I want to get into yes, brother. You born to? Yeah. Remember Face and Hope, yes. Land behind the soccer field. I'm not sure which soccer field you're talking about. Whether it's over Jews land or the one on West Bay Farm Road.
Mm.
The soccer field that she's talking about, or what I referenced earlier, is the one Balmagee's school ground off West Bay
Mhm.
Farm Road. So continue. So you were saying the scope of the needs assessment. What the geographic area you cover?
So the five districts. So it's from Bushmouth, so from Dilliston Avenue and Bay Farm Road, coming
Okay.
all the way down, and it covers Top Penwood Road. So the boundary would be like Lyrics, which is Top Penwood Road, and we didn't go beyond Ritchie Lane, which is off Spanish Town Road, White Lane area. So that would be a part of the Moscow community. So we
So
use the SDC five districts.
so what about Binns Road?
Geographically and according to SDC, Binge Road will be a part of the Waterhouse community. And it's also a different political space. It's West Central as well. So you have two definitions. You have the physical, geographical, and you also have the political boundaries.
But that's weird. How are they gonna tell that to the people who live there?
Mm-hmm.
That
So,
this is
and
the Waterhouse boundary. Because Waterhouse, as I said, Waterhouse, people see Waterhouse from some people see it from Balcom Drive.
mm-hmm.
Balcom Drive. Or I guess the political boundary is Dilliston Avenue, Unity Lane, and go across Balcom Drive.
Yeah.
Go-
But
You know,
actually,
fu-
Unity Lane and Fairview is not a part of it. But we
no.
also include it. No, it isn't. But we include
Oh,
it. That's West Central.
oh gosh.
It's confusing, but some people even refer to Waterhouse as a part of Olympic Way as well. So from Olympic Way come beyond
Olympic
is
Way are Olympic
Waterhouse.
Gardens.
The street is called Olympic Way, so it will be
Yeah, I
Olympic
know.
Gardens division.
Yeah.
hmm But the demographics of Waterhouse we have about a little bit less than 13,000 persons, so 12,000 persons living in the community based on the last census. And we did these assessment covered 250 households. And if
Nice.
we're going to per household, and it varies, but the medium would be 3 to 4 persons living in a household. So we would have
Mm.
covered between 750 to 1,000 residents, which
That's a
in
SDC.
research language is a good protection.
Yeah. But that
hmm
that that to me sound like that's a SDC boundary. Like that decision to
Yes,
set
it is.
it's SDC. I don't
Yes,
know
it's
that.
SDC.
Yeah, yeah. No, the question. Another question. You said 200 how many household you covered?
50 households.
Okay. Now the question is as one person, and this person, it is obvious that this person is from Waterhouse because they talk about faith and hope. You know faith and hope, Racquel? Okay. She's off again.
No, I'm here.
Yeah,
250 households.
yeah, but do you remember faith and hope? You weren't born them time, man.
Mm-mm.
Faith and hope at the early 70s. and 60s. When Pigeon Gang used to
I don't know what's
rule the,
going on.
rule the place. But tell me now, if someone
Are
wants
you
to,
hearing me? Because I'm
yeah,
not hearing you.
you're not hearing me now? Are you hearing me? God.
Talk again.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, hello?
Hello, hello. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I'm still not hearing you, Nita. And my mic is allowed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I'm not getting through to her. Something is wrong with her feed. Something is wrong with her feed. She's having a problem. Racquel?
Yeah, I'm still not hearing. Let me see if I can.
Man, I don't know what's going on. It's just fucked up. I think right now we have to call it a day. This thing was building up to a very interesting discussion, but there's some problems in Jamaica and we have to sort that out. So listeners, I'm gonna call it a day, and next Sunday we continue the discussion with Sister Racquel. Okay? Sorry about this, but that's what's going down. Huh? Oh man. So until next week. Bye. See you. Stay strong and work good.